With the 11th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft.
It's 11-0 in the fourth in favor of the Bulls. Buzelis took it down.
Heroes are taking over the NBA, and we're not just talking about the Balkans, who have been putting up triple-doubles on a regular basis. There is more to European basketball than just Nikola Jokic and Luka Dončić, even if they're two of the top 5 best players in the league. And we're not even talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is also a top 5 player in the NBA, or Victor Wembanyama, who might become the best in the league years from now. Instead, we're looking at an underrated Lithuanian from the 2024 NBA Draft. Now, this draft is one of the most interesting crops of rookies in recent history. There was no clear-cut top overall pick because no one stood head and shoulders above everyone. That's why the French connection of Zachary Rizachet and Alex Sarr were taken first and second overall. They showed the most upside out of most of the prospects, even though the consensus was that they were not yet NBA ready. Meanwhile, 4th overall pick Stephon Castle went on to win the 2025 Rookie of the Year award. But before all those things happened, there was one European player who had the makings of a top overall pick. We're talking about Matas Buzelis from Lithuania. And yes, we know he didn't put up great numbers during his rookie season, but there's a reason why he could be the savior of the struggling Chicago Bulls. You see, Buzelis was actually a contender for the top overall pick before 10 teams passed up on him. He fell to the 11th pick, allowing the Chicago Bulls to pick him up. Now, what's interesting here is that while he may be Lithuanian, his birth certificate will tell you that he was born and raised in Chicago. That's right, the Bulls drafted a hometown native who happens to be Lithuanian. That's why he doesn't come with the prototypical European accent, often speaking in straight American English.
In many different ways. I mean, it could be a hustle player. To me, a role player just does everything, honestly. Gets everything done.
Then again, everything about Buzelis screams Lithuanian. His parents were born and raised in Lithuania, and both used to be good basketball players in their own right. Matas's father was a pro player in their home country, and his mother was a youth-level player. His maternal grandfather was a player and a coach, while his paternal grandfather was a basketball legend in Lithuania, winning 6 titles there and even representing the national team throughout his entire basketball career. Basically, basketball runs through Buzelis' blood, and it's also interesting that he was born and raised in Chicago, a basketball hotbed in the United States. But while he may have been born to a basketball family in a basketball city, his first loves were swimming and gymnastics. He eventually shifted to basketball because of how much more passionate the sport is. But he credits swimming and gymnastics for his early athletic development. So, by the time he started playing high school basketball, he became a menace. He went to Hinsdale Central before eventually transferring to Brewster Academy, a boarding school in Wolfboro, New Hampshire during his sophomore season. And by the time he was a junior, he was unstoppable. Buzelis averaged 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal during his junior year, winning the New Hampshire Gatorade Player of the Year award. That was when he found himself in the radar of some of the biggest college scouts and recruiters in the country. But before his senior year, he transferred again. This time, he went to the Sunrise Christian Academy in Bel Air, Kansas, where he averaged close to 16 points and more than 5 rebounds a game, while shooting 54% from the field and over 42% from the three-point line. At that point, he was already showing the complete offensive package. He could drive to the rim, go for dunks, or stay outside the three-point line to shoot long jumpers. Offensively, he had it all, and what was amazing was that he was already around 6 foot 10 inches during his senior year. Buzelis had the height and length of a modern-day NBA center, but the mobility and athleticism of a smaller player. He eventually won the Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year in 2023. But one of his best performances that season came against Cooper Flagg in the Montverde Academy in a quarterfinal game in the high school nationals. He outplayed Flagg, hitting a ton of three-pointers and even showing off his defensive abilities by blocking a few shots. Then, he went on to have 15 points and 4 assists in the McDonald's All-American game. And he shocked the nation when he joined the dunk contest and showed off his incredible athleticism and hang time. Scouts thought he was special, which was why he was a 5-star recruit and was ranked 7th overall in his recruitment class. But if you look at the 2023 recruitment class, none of the 6 players ranked ahead of Buzelis were undoubtedly better than him. Only Ron Holland, taken 5th in 2024, was taken ahead of him in the NBA draft. But instead of taking the usual route of going to college and playing there for 1 year to become eligible for the NBA draft, Buzelis took the road less traveled. No, he didn't return to Europe to play there professionally, although that would have been a good option for him if he wanted to prepare his body for the NBA. Instead, he signed a contract with the now-defunct GLeague Ignite of the NBA G League. He could have signed with teams like Kentucky, Florida State, or North Carolina, but he and his family felt that going to the G League was the best move. Sure, making $1 million was part of the temptation of skipping college, but his goal was not to play college basketball. It was to get to the NBA.
Ford in the corner, going one-on-one against Blackstad. Up and up there.
Even if the G League Ignite didn't prove itself as the best destination for future NBA stars, it was still one of the best at preparing a player for what's to come in the NBA. The college game has different rules and systems compared to the NBA, but the G League plays NBA rules and has NBA-level coaches. So, for Buzelis, going to the G League seemed like the best option for someone who wanted to make a quick transition to the NBA. He did well with the G League Ignite, averaging 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists against players who were good enough to nearly make it to the NBA. But for some reason, he kind of lost his place in the draft. From being a potential top overall pick, Buzelis got lost when compared to players like Alex Sarr, Stephon Castle, Zachary Rizache, and G League teammate Ron Holland. Scouts said he was a bit too thin and slow. He was very much a tweener in the sense that he didn't have the strength to play power forward and wasn't fast enough to keep up with small forwards. He was also very inconsistent with his shot in his one season with the G League Ignite. He averaged 44.8% from the field and 27.3% from the three-point line. Still, he was good enough to get drafted 11th overall. After all, at 6'10", he had the height, athleticism, and skills of a potential star, but he might have landed in the best spot because he got drafted by his hometown team. So, even though he wasn't drafted in the top 5 or even the top 10, at least he was playing in a city he was already very familiar with. The Bulls, meanwhile, didn't waste time giving him a role.
There's Buzelis against Dončić behind the back, and he dunked it home. Don't show it off.
Buzelis was a rotation player, playing as a backup forward behind starting power forward Patrick Williams and Zach LaVine, who played small forward full-time for the first time in his career that season. Now, he wasn't a bad player early in his NBA career, but there were clear reasons why he wasn't a top 5 pick. Buzelis initially struggled with the NBA's physicality because of his thin frame. His shot was also a work in progress, even though he had already proven that he had a good jumper. But he also had bright spots. In a win over the Brooklyn Nets early in December 2024, he had 20 points in under 22 minutes off the bench. But what ultimately convinced the Bulls to give him more minutes and touches was when he had 24 points on 10 out of 10 shooting from the field in a win over the Miami Heat in February 2025. After that, he became a full-time starter, especially after the Bulls traded LaVine to open up the starting small forward spot. In his first 49 NBA games, which were all off the bench, he averaged only 5.8 points on 14 minutes of action a night. But after earning the starting small forward spot, Buzelis' numbers jumped to 13 points and 4.5 rebounds while shooting 47.3% from the field.
Got ripped that time. Good defense by Sanogo.
Make it 12. Oh, Buzelis caught a body underneath.
He could have had a chance at the Rookie of the Year award had he been a starter from day one, but it does look like the Bulls now think highly of him, especially after becoming a crowd favorite with his thundering dunks. The thing about the Bulls is that this team has struggled since the Michael Jordan days. Sure, they found success during the Derrick Rose or even the Jimmy Butler years, but they never had any real luck as far as superstars go. Rose could have been the guy, but he got injured, and that Butler relationship was never going to work out for them. Meanwhile, Buzelis seems to have the talent and potential to become a star as long as the Bulls give him the minutes and touches he needs. He's probably never going to be the second coming of a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James at the forward position, but his positional size and advanced skills make him a unicorn in today's modern game. That's why the Bulls should probably be patient enough with him while also giving him the confidence he needs to develop into a star. He has the motor, tools, and skills to get him to the level of a franchise player. There may be issues with his consistency and basketball IQ, but proper training and coaching can fix those problems.
Buzelis with the steal. Drell can't connect, but Buzelis.
So long as he keeps on grinding and hustling, he could prove to be an invaluable asset for a team that desperately needs to return to championship hunting. Still, at this point, it seems like Chicago wants to try to return to playoff contention with Kobe White as their best player and Josh Giddey as their point guard of the future. So they probably aren't going all in on Buzelis as their future franchise player. But if it looks like the backcourt of White and Giddey isn't good enough to turn them into contenders, it would probably be wise for the Bulls to give Buzelis a shot at being the man. After all, he already has the hometown fans on his side, and he's probably their most appealing young asset on the roster. So if things don't work out again with White and Giddey, especially with the Bulls falling out of the top 10 of the 2025 NBA draft, it might be best to try to build around Buzelis.